You're listening to Cinema IRL, the podcast that throws you into the movie and asks the question, what would you do? In episode 2, we cover the documentary Common Ground. We didn't think 2 hours talking about dirt would be interesting. We were wrong, and find out why. And now, Cinema IRL.
I wish I could switch places for just one day.
If you find yourself in the unique position,
what would you do?
Put yourself in my shoes.
How do we handle this?
what would you do with it?
Put yourself in my place.
What would you do?
Oh, well, put yourself in my position. This doesn't sound too good.
What would you do?
How do you want to handle this?
What would you do? Put yourself in my shoes, would you?
What would you do?
Put yourself in my position.
What would you do?
Just put yourself in their shoes.
Now it's your turn.
So, as a special Earth Day treat, a number of theaters were showing the new documentary Common Ground. And documentaries are probably not something we're normally going to cover here so much. But if I'm being completely honest, we just got the new podcasting equipment in. We're starting this thing, and we're just running on what we've seen here, and that's it. Now,
well, I mean, we see a good variety of films. We see documentaries, horror films, dramas, period pieces of crap.
It's more the fact that a documentary, for the most part, is kind of what we're doing in a way. Like, they're talking about a subject and discuss. I mean, they're really discussing it in a lot of the same ways that we are.
It mimics what we're supposed. It's not in contrast to what we normally do. Normally, we're talking about like flying ballerinas, and then what would you do if you had a flying ballerina like in Abigail? But if you're talking about a documentary, then you're basically participating like you were in the documentary.
Yeah. So I will say this: I learned more about dirt than I ever knew.
Yeah. So, for those who haven't seen Common Ground is really referencing the soil, and that the health of the soil reflects the health of our planet. And it was fascinating because I've watched a lot of environmental films and documentaries over the years, and I haven't seen one that really concentrated on soil.
Yeah, I think you've seen more than I have. Your tree hugger card's a little more full than mine is.
Love me some trees.
But it was really fascinating to discuss this. I mean, obviously we know about processed foods, and we know that they're not so good for you. But it was a lot of the issues regarding regenerative farming, like they're trying to make this thing a thing that should be big. And I'm kind of looking at this not from a tree hugger perspective, but from more like an economic perspective. And looking at everything, it looks like it makes a lot of economic sense. Like, just forget the other benefits of it. Just the fact that you can do things which then cut your costs immensely.
Right. And for those who aren't familiar with regenerative farming, they spend a lot of time on this in the film. And it's basically acting as a steward of nature and the planet, that you're not using pesticides, you're not using herbicides, you're not tilling the soil, that you are treating the soil as the sacred product that it is. Like, for example, tilling. They talked about tilling in the film a lot and how devastating tilling was to the soil, where they would do side-by-side comparisons of this whole big barren dirt lot that was done with traditional agriculture, and then this beautiful green, luscious lot with tall grasses and everything that was regenerative.
Yeah, I won't lie. I had no idea. I had no idea that tilling was as destructive as it was. I mean, obviously, it makes sense from a farming perspective and the things you need to do regarding it. But, I mean, I guess I have to use need in big air quotes, because clearly you don't. I mean, it does require a little bit of planning as far as, like, having cover crops and figuring out what to do with your field year round, where you might have your money crops, but you need to be doing things outside of the money crops so that
you're protecting the soil.
Yeah, you're protecting the soil. And I mean, it makes those money crops better when they come up.
And for just a brief Soil 101 lesson for our listeners is, and I'm not going to obviously explain this as well as they did in the film, but when the roots go down into the soil, and even with weeds and there's the balance of nitrogen and carbon, and making carbon-rich soil and really healthy soil looks like chocolate cake. It's dark and it's lush. And so when those machines come and they till the soil, they're basically ruining all those microbes that are beneath the soil that are feeding the soil and moving all of the nutrients through the soil to make it healthy. And they're just ripping them apart with those tillers.
Yeah. Admittedly, I did not know a lot of the stuff that I learned there, but it's good to know. It really is. And I mean, obviously when one does a documentary, you're typically doing it from a certain perspective. So you have to expect that that's the perspective that you're going to get, and the things that are anti that perspective. I mean, there's an agenda typically with documentaries of some form, but I don't know. I can't really see. Like, it feels like there's a very clear good and evil on this one.
Yeah.
Regardless of which perspective. Like, I would love to see Roundup and Bayer come out with their own documentary in a way that's
they
basically
come out with commercials all the time. That's their documentary.
Commercials are 30 seconds. I'd love to see them cover this for an hour and a half and see, make the case. Tell us.
Poison's good. Cancer's good.
Yeah. Tell me.
By Roundup.
Yeah, no.
But
which does remind me, I have a thing of weed killer which I need to put in the. I say garbage can, but I know you're not going to let me put it in the garbage can.
Yeah, got to go hazardous waste. Well, I'm always against these things, and it's because everything has a ripple effect. You use rat poison, then an owl eats the rat, and the rat gets, an owl eats the rat, and then the owl gets sick, or a cat attacks the mouse and then the cat gets sick. Everything is cyclical. But with this, it's really about climate change. When you have more plants, when, between crops, you mentioned the cover crops. And basically what that was to keep the soil intact, to keep it protected so it wasn't just barren and having the sun beating on it, that there was cover crops there that was protecting the sun. It was protecting it from erosion. If it rained, that top level of soil wasn't loose and being, washed away. And when you have something healthy growing and planting, it's taking carbon out of the air, all the crap that we put into the air, and putting it into the ground and making the soil healthier. Like, how could anyone say that's a bad thing?
Well, I'm sure you get enough high-paid executives.
Yes,
lobbyists.
What was the number?
23.1 to 1 lobbyists to members of Congress, which that's actually a fact I did know. I mean, lobby money is huge. I mean, and I've always said this because I've studied politics enough to know that if you're in Washington long enough, you're going to get corrupted. I mean, it's just kind of the way it works. Now,
if you take funding,
Well, some people will get corrupted faster than others, and some people will get corrupted worse than others. But I mean, when you've got that much money, like, here, we're going to do these incredible things for you and your family, and you're going to make a lot of money just by saying yes or saying no.
Yeah, no, it's a messed up system, that's for sure.
Okay, well,
so protect your soil. Don't till. Don't use poisons. Don't use Roundup.
Support your local farmer.
Oh, gosh, so true. And, this kind of feeds into the whole concept, too, of, organic farming and not using pesticides. How the effect that it has on our bodies, to think that we can't consume food and not have it not poison our body when all of those chemicals are used.
Yeah. So, normally we would probably run a little bit longer than this, but again, being a documentary,
it feels like we're talking about the film, which we're generally not going to.
Yeah, but this is kind of odd for us. It just happened to be one of the first episodes. Like I said, we're just kind of jumping in where we're jumping in. So, yeah, no. Anything else?
No, I'm gonna go hug a tree.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go watch you hug a tree.
We hope you enjoyed our episode. Thank you for listening. And to catch all the new episodes, please subscribe. We release 2 to 3 episodes weekly, so we'll have new content regularly. Until next time.